Hello and welcome to your in-depth weekly horoscope for week commencing the 26th of September for the Sun or the Ascendant. I'm going to give you the standout features to look out for, but please stay with me. I will then dive deep to give you in much greater detail each of the 12 zodiac signs from Aries through to Pisces. So as we go into this new week, so the power of the new moon in the sign of Libra and its opposition to Jupiter, which ended last week, is pouring, cascading its energy into this week too, because the Sun and Jupiter are in opposition for much of the week. Now this is a very nice state of affairs. What's not to like? Well, it's simply that. Mercury in its retrograde is in a direct opposition with Neptune. And that particular link, even though Mercury is in one of its two home zones of Virgo, really can create quite a lot of confusion. And even where we're trying to be very diplomatic, reaching into the other person's viewpoint, we're trying to be good listeners, be a little bit more detached in terms of understanding that maybe people see things in a different way, it can all turn to mush with that particular and complex opposition. In fact, we could encounter someone who could actually tell us something that's absolutely a barefaced lie. So really important to temper the enthusiasm and optimism of Jupiter being opposite the Sun with a real dash of realism. And fortunately, Mars, which is in the part of the zodiac which is very much to do with everyday communications, that's in a very stable link to Saturn in the sector of the community. So that gives us one opportunity to be a bit clearer. And then on Thursday, Venus moves into the sign of Libra. So joins up with the Sun. This is the sign that Venus governs along with Taurus, and it's going to be in opposition with Jupiter too. So I think we just got to try and see the best in each other, to be honest. There's also a very positive link between Mars and Pluto, which can help to cut through some of the confusion and the distortion that Mercury's opposition with Neptune can create. But I think if we can just realise that even if we're quite different in some ways, we do all have some commonalities. And if we can focus on the things that we can celebrate as having in common and not so much focused on the things that make us stand apart, then by the end of this week, there can be a real opportunity for an improvement in all sorts of interactions. The quarter moon, which does occur at the end of the week, is in the sign of Capricorn. So maybe when it comes to those professional relationships, there may be someone who wants us to conform with the expectations of the big business or the organisation or the educational facility we're at, and that's tough. We all have to, at some level, let our individuality go and understand that there are certain conventions that we have to fit in with. But that could be a little bit of a sticking point at the end of this week, but the real way to make progress this week is to try to have a sense of clarity, but also a realistic sense of expectation, but then embrace that Jupiter bubbly energy too. Now, please stay with me for your individual forecast. If you would like to ascend above this zodiac broadcast, if you give me 3 pieces of personal birth data of time, date and place of birth, I can give you your year 2023 forecast, the rest of year 2022 free if you order before the turn of the year, and also your life map, your character analysis that can guide you for the rest of your days by giving you searing insights, some of those patterns that can be repeated, and help you to understand them much more. And with my special package, there's 30% off. Please see the link beneath this video. And finally, if you've yet to subscribe to my channel, I'd be honoured if you did so now. Please click or tap on the bell notification symbol. If you've already done so, thank you so much for your ongoing support. So Aquarius, your week commencing the 26th of September forecast continues to see your two co-regents, Saturn, traditional, Uranus, modern, higher octave, in a very tense relationship. In fact, on the 2nd of October, they go within 1 minute of being exactly square, and that runs on through to the 12th of October. But just to repeat a message I've shared before, by the end of November, because I do think this aspect has really affected Aquarius people a lot because of your two rulers being involved. I think it's also affected the other fixed signs too, particularly Taurus, but Leo and Scorpio. But for you, if a situation feels really stuck around a home or emotional or family-based issue, take heart, because this week the Sun's beautiful link with Jupiter, running on from last week's glorious new moon, and the arrival of Venus on Thursday in the 9th house, also in opposition with Jupiter, can be very fortunate, particularly for contracts, travel. But if you are traveling, it's going to be not just an appreciation of going to the beach and having some lovely meals. If you take in some cultural elements or some local history or the customs of wherever you find yourself, I think you're really going to immerse yourself, and I think you can have some incredible moments of escapism and joy. But equally, if you're at home, your joy can come from connecting to people who are different to you, who maybe have different philosophies, who live in different parts of the world. Maybe culturally, it's all going to be very stimulating for you. Also, Saturn is actually forging a very constructive link to Mars in the part of your scope which is very much about your sex appeal. So Mars and Saturn, Saturn obviously has been quite limiting around your physical vitality pretty well since the spring of 2020, and the spring in the northern hemisphere and the autumn in the southern, and also again from the end of that year on the 17th of December. And particularly if you're born more towards the front of Aquarius, I think, that the tension has started to build up since then. Now, the main catch for this week is actually possibly to do with finances, because Neptune has been a murky, misty influence since 2012 in this area. It's probably seen you being quite generous to good causes during that time, but it is in opposition with Mercury this week in a retrograde in your sector of longer term finance and shared assets. So that may be an area that does require quite a lot of very careful analysis. What can help you is that Pluto, right at the back of your chart, suggests that if you take a breath, find some time, think very deeply, you can dig down, drill down incredibly well and dig out what's really relevant and push back on some of the more distorting energy that Neptune can create. So I think there is a quarter moon towards the end of this week, which could have a tendency to see you perhaps expand or amplify a sensitive issue beyond what it's really worth. So I think generally this is a week when a great time to break out, do something different, do something cultural, go to a movie, go to a museum, go to a show. If you're a more physically rugged and adventurous type of person, go out into the great outdoors, do something that helps you to have some real escapism, because I think it will be like an absolute wonderful breath of fresh air for the air sign that is you.